Hi everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am pretty behind on my intended posting schedule, but it is what it is. Honestly, it's been a lot harder than I thought it would be to keep up with documenting my journey. Part of documenting this is documenting the highs and the lows, and I gotta tell you, fam, right now I am feeling pretty low. My hope was to post on a weekly schedule to kind of update you all on my progress with where I was at in terms of figuring out the things that give me energy and what I want to pursue. And quite frankly, all I have been the last 2 weeks is just painfully uncomfortable. I touched on this in a previous video, but I have been employed for the last, 10 years plus straight, and it is just so uncomfortable for me to not know where my next paycheck is going to come from, even though I budgeted for a year. And yes, I know that is unreasonable, but it's the truth. And I have talked to my therapist about this, and, we both agreed, and I know this too, that I am operating from a scarcity mindset. So in this video, I want to talk about scarcity mindset. I also want to talk about The 100-Year Life, a book written by a professor. I believe her name is Lynda something. I can link it. And then I also want to talk about another author who I am blanking on right now. I really wish I came to this video more prepared. And I'm very grateful to those who have subscribed to join me on this journey. I'm sorry that the quality of the content is not as good as I hoped it would be. But I also know that documenting this is for me. And gosh dang it, it is so uncomfortable for me to be in this position. I wake up in the morning and I'm anxious, thinking about, what am I going to do for my career or to make money next? And I spend the rest of the day trying to practice mindfulness and, remind myself that I'm okay, that I budgeted for this, and that it's okay to take a break. And it's just the same cycle every day. I wake up anxious. I spend the whole day calming myself down. I go to sleep. And then I do it again. I wanted to kind of give weekly updates of where I was on my journey, how I was tracking towards finding the things that give me energy and to the things that bring me joy that I could hopefully make a career out of. And I haven't done any of that because I have been spending the last 2 weeks interviewing with 5 different companies. That doesn't feel good to say either. When I was talking to my therapist about this, I told him it was the first time that I had ever felt so overwhelmed about my situation. I'm saying I owe it to myself to take a break and give myself a sabbatical, yet I'm constantly interviewing, and preparing for those interviews is really time consuming, and I want to put my best foot forward all the time. And that means putting a lot of work into preparing for interviews. At the same time, I want to take a break. And I just can't allow myself to do it. So this video is talking about the process of just allowing yourself to take a break. And for someone with scarcity mindset, that has been really hard for me. The first thing I want to talk about is scarcity mindset. And the reason I'm pulling out my phone is because I want to read some excerpts for you. This is a Substack article by the author Dave Liu. I will link it in the description below, but I have never read a better summary of how it feels to be Asian American growing up with the scarcity mindset that I have. Our parents' generational trauma is not talked about enough because it is culturally taboo, but it has been passed down to us in less discreet ways. Although they sacrificed everything for our generation to thrive, our parents imbued in us a scarcity mindset. A scarcity mindset is when you believe resources like time or money are limited. It views life as a finite zero-sum pie, and if someone else takes a piece, there is less for everyone else. A scarcity mindset causes a hyperfixation on what you don't have and leads to short-term coping instead of long-term problem solving. It can paralyze you and cause mental health issues from anxiety and stress. I cannot agree with that more. And for my situation, though I have literally budgeted to take a year off to take a break, when I think about the money that I'm not making in my normal salary, I think of that as an opportunity cost. And it is absolutely insane. I know. And I have talked to my therapist. I have asked him, like, listen, the discomfort that I'm feeling day in and day out is so uncomfortable. I can't do this for a year. What are some ways that I can think about things, some frameworks that I can, employ in my day-to-day life to just make this a little bit easier? And he always tells me, you just have to sit with the discomfort. I am not satisfied with that answer. It is so uncomfortable. And that is why, unfortunately, I have been interviewing for the last 2 weeks, because it's just so uncomfortable and I can't give myself a break. I want to share more of this in case this is interesting. We were raised to respect our parents' wishes from the day we were born. With that comes the burden of obligation to repay their sacrifices by being obedient children who honor them with the choices in our lives, including our careers. They gave us everything so that we could have the financial security and stability that they never had. Unfortunately, we also inherited the mindset of playing it safe and oftentimes settling for the bare minimum. We were rarely encouraged to dream big because that was impractical American Hollywood nonsense. While other kids were encouraged by their parents to shoot for the stars, our parents were telling us to shoot for a stable and secure government job. There's a sense of guilt associated with pursuing unconventional career choices or taking big risks that betrays our parents' sacrifice, as if we're throwing it all away. When he wrote this, that could not have resonated with me more. I had known that I've always been a creative person at heart, and I never pursued it. I went to Berkeley to pursue science, to hopefully become a dentist, and that didn't work out. And when I couldn't become a dentist, I blindly went into tech, where I've been for the last 10 years. And as I mentioned in a previous video, I love photography, and I love traveling, and I love dancing. I don't think I'd become a professional dancer, though. But I know that those are the things that give me energy. And I've just never been told or have seen that that's something you could do for a living and be comfortable from. And so I thought that I would take this time, and I just physically cannot. I find myself running back to security, and I want to be transparent about that because that is where I am in my journey at this time. So I'm going to share a few more. Many children of immigrants have self-sabotaging voices in their heads that overestimate risks and paralyze them. The much bigger risk is waking up one day and realizing that you've sold yourself short when it's too late to do anything about it. When you have a scarcity mindset, you get and keep as much as you have, but you also settle for good enough. Failure is not the enemy of success. Inertia, fear, and apathy are. If you failed, it means you believed in yourself enough to try. That is why when I first started my YouTube channel, I felt like I blinked and suddenly I was 32. And I had spent 10 years working in an industry that didn't actually energize me. And so I really felt like I owed it to myself to pursue something else. And it has been so hard for me to do that. People who succeed in life have to be willing to not only make mistakes, but fail. Experiencing failure makes you more resilient and capable of overcoming obstacles. When you are raised in an Asian immigrant household, failure is not an option. Even being less than perfect is considered unacceptable. You are raised to believe that anything less than 100% is unacceptable, and you are programmed to fear taking risks and failing. The reason why many mediocre and less capable people are so confident in being right is that they don't believe they need to be 100% certain of having an answer. The ones who succeed tend to believe they are always right, even if they are completely wrong. Guessing and being wrong is okay. It's about how you recover that makes you stronger. Part of taking risks is believing you are right, which is a reflection of believing in yourself. I am incredibly risk averse, which is why all I seem to be doing during this sabbatical is running back to security, which is not what I envisioned I would do. I felt pretty confident, like, hey, I have a chance to take a break. I'm going to do it. could not be further from the truth. And I'm just being honest about this. If anyone else with scarcity mindset is considering doing this, this is what the journey looks like for me. I don't know how it will look for you. I commend anyone else who can just stick with it and do it, because that is amazing. So now, where am I with my journey? I'm going to complete this interview cycle. If I'm being honest, I do want to take an offer ASAP because I just can't sit in the discomfort. And I know people say you need to sit in the discomfort to grow. I just can't. I just can't stand it. And that's why I'm spending most of my time interviewing rather than my creative pursuits. This is probably something I'll have to work out in therapy deeper. In my mind, once I secure an offer, if that's even something that I can do in this market, because I have serious doubts also that I'm able to, which is a whole other story about my self-confidence issues. I firmly believe that now that there is a fire lit under my ass to figure out what I want to do, I hope to God that during my spare time, when I'm not working, I will be putting it towards figuring out what I want to do. And I've never done that in the past because I didn't think that it was possible for people to actually have careers that they love. You know, I would see the travel influencers or bloggers and be like, oh, you know, they got lucky. That's not the reality for everyone. This, and that. But like, you don't know if you don't try. And I never really tried. I maybe half-assed it on Instagram by, you know, hashtagging some pictures. But apparently it's like a whole ass thing where you have to make a media pitch kit and then you have to pitch to brands. I didn't try that in the past because I had a very stable and well-paying job, and I didn't think that I would like being in the spotlight online. Yet here I am making a YouTube channel, so that's crazy. But you have to try. I mean, I have done some things to work towards figuring out what I want to do. So I will say that I did apply to an interior design firm because I do like interior design, and I know that's something that gives me energy. It's an assistant position. It probably doesn't pay well at all. They were very clear about that. TBD, I haven't heard from them in about a week. I did apply to animal shelter jobs because I do love animals, huge dog lover, and I thought that maybe that would be a career path I would like to follow, something animal welfare other than, you know, product management. And I did start my travel blog. Started it as in set up the WordPress site, but I didn't actually start posting content. So I am doing little things here and there to try and do more creative things, but I think the discomfort is just so intense for me that I can't comfortably do any of those things without knowing that I have income coming in. I wish I showed up on this YouTube video today a lot more confident, but I said I would document the highs and lows, and here's a low. So on that note, I do want to share some resources. One of the books is called The 100-Year Life. I will link it in the description. I'm going to reference my phone again because I didn't come super prepared for this. The majority of children born in rich countries today can expect to live more than 100. This increase in life expectancy has been happening for decades, and yet we continue to structure our lives the way our parents and grandparents did. Our current practices are ill-equipped to cope with a 100-year life. We either can't afford to retire at the age our parents did, or will have to work for so long that our mental and physical fitness, as well as our enthusiasm for life, could suffer. Individuals, companies, and governments all have a role to play in ensuring we structure our lives differently so we can make the most of a longer life. Currently, the poorest members of society do not have a 100-year life expectancy, and this also needs to be addressed. The concern is also that whilst those with money and education can support a multi-stage life, those less fortunate may face the prospect of a long life being a curse and not a gift. So the author basically argues that because we're living a lot longer now, we need to start thinking in terms of a multi-step life. And in that, people could take breaks throughout their careers, go back to school, pick a new career and like just have that be normalized. What does this mean for corporations? The obvious is don't retire people at 60. It's going to cause massive problems for the future. Let people work as long as they can, and that means they have to be cognitively healthy. Realize that people aren't going to have that 3-stage career. They will want to hop out at times. They'll want to rejuvenate. They'll want to learn a new skill. They'll want to go on sabbaticals. Academics go on sabbaticals. Why can't consultants think more creatively about the career paths? This makes total sense. We're not living till only 70 now. We're living to 100 plus and more if we're lucky. I mean, even the way that the gig economy is starting to play out, we're not just seeing people just go to school, work that one job, then retire. It looks so much different now, and society needs to embrace that, and governments need to support that. So that is one resource that I wanted to share in support of sabbaticals. And the next resource that I wanted to share is Life in the Transitions. I don't have the author on hand there, but I heard him on the 10% Happier podcast. I will link that in the description as well. But he was basically saying that as a society, we constantly compare our lives to an ideal that doesn't exist and beat ourselves up for it. There is no such thing as a linear path, and this author went out and interviewed hundreds of people to learn what their life journey has been like. And so many people have pivoted careers or situations or had to transition because of a number of things. Life quakes, he calls them. Just wanted to make sure I'm using the right word. Disruptors or life quakes. But those are basically times in your life, like a divorce or a layoff or something, where you have to change courses. Let's say you have a successful corporate job and then you have to stop working because you have to care for a sick parent, and then maybe you don't go back to that corporate job and like pursue something else. That happens. So I am not doing a great job of doing these resources justice, and to be honest, I am kind of tired of talking. I greatly appreciate anyone's support, anyone who has been watching my videos. I am sorry that I have not prepared for this video, but I really needed to document my journey like I said I would. And so I had been thinking about what I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to talk about how hard it's been for me to take a break, and I wanted to share an eloquent reason why, which is the Scarcity Mindset excerpt. And then I also wanted to share some resources that are in support of sabbaticals, which is the 100-year life, because we are living longer for those of us who are lucky enough to do that, and we should take this outdated ideal of how our lives should be. And regarding the Life in the Transitions book, linear success and having a linear perfect life is a myth. And I don't know why I made that a goal of mine. I mean, I know why I did because of the way I was raised, but you would think that by now I would understand that that's like not very feasible. Like, I think another thing I heard in a Mark Manson podcast recently was, so many of us aspire to lifestyles that are statistically impossible to reach, yet that is the norm. Yeah, I don't know. I am so off today. I'm a little bit grumpy. I have been down in the dumps the last 2 weeks. I have been doing things that are counterproductive to the goal that I had, and this is my honest journey. I genuinely, again, appreciate anyone who has wanted to follow along in this journey with me. I am sorry if it's disappointing news to hear, but this has been the reality for me. And I hope it's not the reality for anyone that is brave enough to take a leap and take a break and kind of take charge of their life. But here's a low that I'm documenting. I hope I have better news to report in my next video. But happy holidays to you. Happy New Year. I hope that the new year will bring I just hope the new year won't be uncomfortable. But yeah, happy holidays. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.